Hello there, it's Carrie Rhodes here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's crafty video, I am making this hot cocoa sign featuring products that I purchased from the Not Too Shabby shop. But first, let's talk about the hot cocoa sign base. I needed it to be 6 by 9 to fit on this clipboard. So I'm going to design it in Silhouette Studio. First thing, I'm going to draw out a rectangle. And I want that rectangle to be 6 inches by 9 inches, the perfect size for my standing clipboard. So I'll resize that. Now, if you don't have a standing clipboard, you could put this in a frame, you could put it on a little easel, you could attach it to the wall somehow. Next, I'm going to fill this rectangle with black. So I just clicked on that paint palette over on the right hand side and then clicked black to fill it. Next, I'm going to go to my library and retrieve the downloadable image that I purchased from the Silhouette Design Studio. Now, their images are very reasonably priced. This one, for example, was around $1. Sometimes seasonal things also go on sale for like 79 cents. So I'm just going to position that and size it to what I need for my sign. Once I have that where I want it, I am going to click on that image and come over and fill that with white. So now everything's white instead of brown, but you can see it also has a red outline. So I'm going to click on the lines and then I'm going to change the color of the lines. You could change it to white and make them a little bit thicker, or I'm going to do mine in black. So now they can't be seen there. Next, I'm going to tell my Silhouette what size paper I'm going to use. I'm also going to make sure that the print lines are there. The printer is going to print out that black square and those registration marks so that it knows where my image is to cut it out for me. So now I'm grouping the black rectangle and the printable together so I can move it as one, and then I'm going to go ahead and send that to my printer. Now when this prints out with those registration marks, I can then take that cardstock, put it on my cut mat for my Silhouette, and then I'm ready to manipulate this to print. So I'm selecting the hot cocoa image. I had to ungroup it, then select the image and tell it no cut. And you can find this once you click send. Then I make sure that there's only a red line around that rectangle. Once that's set, I adjust my cut settings, like if I need my blade to be deeper or whatnot, I can adjust that and then push send. And now that's ready to go. Then, because I made this on my Silhouette, I can bring in my digital stamp and I can adjust the size of it so I know it's going to fit on my hot cocoa sign. So that's what I'm doing here. Once I have the size, I'm going to duplicate that. So I have 2 because I'm going to have 2 of these cups on there. Now this digital stamp is the holiday latte from the Not Too Shabby shop. I am printing them out now and then I can also cut them. Now if you want a more detailed tutorial on how to print and cut your digital stamps, I will have a link to that at the end of this video. And show you how I did that with that exact image. Now I'm taking my printable once it is cut out for me, and I'm just bringing in a little bit of chalk and putting that onto my cardstock and burnishing it with my finger. Now you could use a paper towel. I know some people don't like to touch chalk, like my children, so maybe you don't want to rub it in, but it didn't bother me at all, just this little bit. Now, I thought I wanted this to be a little bit sturdier and thicker because it's supposed to be like a chalkboard. So I pulled out a piece of chipboard. This is a lightweight piece. I cut it to 6 by 9, and then I'm going to bring in my Tombow Aqua liquid glue, cover this chipboard with the glue. How many times have you used the wide end of your glue? Not very often if you're like me. So I'm using that to spread out the glue, really focusing on the edges and making sure I have glue all the way to the corner. So this is going to become one piece and not peel up. So I'm going to make sure that is squared up on the corners, and then I'm going to put this under something heavy and leave it and forget about it for a couple hours until it's nice and dry. All right, then I'm going to bring in this die set that I got from the Not Too Shabby shop, which I am featuring this month, and I'm going to start making my 2 little critters I need for my sign. So I wanted to use the penguin. It's smaller and it's also black and white, which I thought would go really well with my sign, and then my hot cocos would really pop. And then there's the polar bear I'm going to use. And then I die cut them each a hat. So the penguin will have a green and white hat. And you can see I'm just snipping away the parts I don't want. I could save those to use on another hat later as well. And then I'm going to keep that middle part and I'm going to paper piece that over the top of my hat so the center of the hat is green, just like that. I'll do the same thing with the red hat for my polar bear. Then I'm going to use this die right here to die cut the eyes that I need for my penguin. You can see they're super teeny tiny, so just be really careful and patient with these when you're making them. And also I die cut that little tiny die from yellow, so I would have a little beak for my penguin. And when I die cut that out, there's also a nose for the polar bear. So I will add all those things on to finish up these critters and just bring them to life. I love that the rest of the elements on the polar bear are just cut into his face. It's really small details, and they're already there for you. The die makes them for you. So now I'm adding the hat to the polar bear with his little ears peeking out. It's so cute. For the paws, I am bringing in the Peekaboo Polar stamp set. That's where the penguin is as far as the stamp set goes. There's also a bear. You could use those paws for this bear, but I also have the hot cocoa stand with the exact polar bear. So I die cut those paws for him. So you don't have to worry that the Peekaboo die cut set doesn't have paws because they're in the other Peekaboo stamp sets. Now I'm just showing you the other die sets that I used to die cut out pieces to go along with my die cut animals to make my sign. So to finish off my animals, I am adding a little bit of C2 for shadowing, a little R20 for their cheeks, and then some white gel pen to add highlights and freckles. Now my little beak had bumps in it. You know, when you die cut something, sometimes it presses the holes from the die into it. So I just burnished that out with my crease tool and then erased a little black mark that it left behind with my sanding tool. All right, here are my holiday lattes, the digital stamp from Not Too Shabby. I'll have this linked for you below. I'm going to color one so it looks like a Santa cup. So the cup itself is going to be red. I'm starting with my lightest color, which is R17, and I am bringing that from the edge towards the middle, but leaving a white space. And then I'm going to come in with my darkest color, which is R39, and bringing that almost all the way to the edge of my lightest color. Then I can blend out my darkest color with my mid-tone, which is R27, and still you can see I have a white area, but it's just gradually getting smaller. And then I can come back in with my lightest, which is R17, and really blend those three colors together and fill in that white space. Next, I am going to color the little cozy around the middle of this mug black because I'm going for that Santa look. So for my black, I'm actually using cool grays. I started with C4 as my lightest, then I came in with C8 as my darkest. I'm going to blend that out with C6, which is my mid-tone, and then come back in with C4. Now, sometimes if you're not getting a great blend or the exact depth of color that you want, you can just repeat that. So that's what I did, bringing the darkest color in a little bit farther and just repeating that. It really gave me the look that I wanted. And you can see all the way down the cup, I have a lighter highlighted area. So I'm using my mid-tone to color in the rim of my cup, and then E27 and E25 for my hot cocoa. So cute. And then I need a little bit of shadowing on the whipped cream itself, so I'm using C2 for that. And then for the sprinkles on this one, I'm going to color those in with green. So G19 for those sprinkles. And my next cup, I'm coloring to look like an elf cup. So the cup itself is going to be green. My lightest color is G02. I'm bringing in G29 for my darkest, and I'm coloring this the exact same way that I did the red. So I'm just going to bring the color in from the edge towards the middle. I'm going to blend that out with my mid-tone, the G19 that I used on those sprinkles. And these colors I felt needed more blending than just one pass with my markers, so I did go over this a second time. That's what I'm doing right here. And that gave me the look that I wanted. Also, sometimes you need to let your Copic markers settle. And after a couple minutes, you can see that the lines kind of fade out a little bit. They soften. So sometimes you just have to wait before you add a second layer to see if you need it. Now I am hand drawing in some stripes. They are by no means perfect. They are far from it, but I liked them. They worked for this. I left them. You could use a ruler if you felt so inclined. You could use cardstock strips. You could use a stencil. So there's lots of choices. Sometimes I just feel like I have to go for things and not like be too precise. Sometimes being too precise it's too much for me. I just need to go for it on some things. So I felt like going for it with those stripes today. Now I am adding some white gel pen for highlights and using it to clean up any marker that might have bled out on the edges there. So there's my 2 cups and all the markers I used to color all the things. And now we're going to create some buckles because the buckles I die cut from my Build-A-House set, they just seem too small. So I'm drawing out a square here that is going to be 3/4 of an inch by 3/4 of an inch, or 0.75. That's how I change the width and the height on my silhouette. I'm drawing a second square that will go inside of this, and that one's going to be a 1/2 inch square. So I can draw it out and then go ahead and manually type in the size of that so that it is precisely 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. I'm going to group those two together. First I'm going to line it. So I went to align my image so that I know that middle square is centered perfectly. Then I can group that, and then I'll select it and right click to duplicate that. So I have 2, 1 for each cup, and then I'm going to cut those out from some gold cardstock. So I wanted to make sure that I adjusted my blade so that it was set to 7. So the blade would push down far enough to get through that. I'm also changing the force of the blade so it pushes harder and having it cut through 2 times. And there you can see my cute little buckles. They're a little bit thicker as far as around the edge than the piece I used that was a window from the Build-A-House from Lawn Fawn. So my silhouette just comes in really handy for my paper crafting. So I'm going to glue those into place just like that. And there I have my Santa cup and my elf cup. Now the little penguin, he's going to peek over and peer into the Santa cup. So I'll glue him behind, and then my polar bear goes onto the elf cup and have him peek from behind. And then I'm going to add the penguin flippers with some foam squares. And then once those are in place, I wanted to go ahead and add more highlights. So I brought back my gel pen and added those. And then I'll pop up the little polar bear's paws as well. But there's no white gel pen highlights on these ones. Instead, I'm going to use a black liner pen to draw in the little lines for like where his claws would be. Next, I am bringing in my sign, which is all dry, and I'm going to use a sanding block to kind of rough up the edges and soften the corners so they're not so square. And that will give me just this really fun, thicker chalkboard look. And then I'll pop up my 2 little hot cocoa cups with some foam squares, and they are just the right size because I was able to size it on my silhouette, so I knew it would fit under this printable. So there you have it. I have this twine here that I got from the Spellbinder shop that I tied into a bow, and I'm going to attach to the top of my clipboard with a big fat glue dot that I have left over from a kit. And then of all the extra pieces that I die cut from the Critter Huggable add-on die set, I only ended up using the holly leaf here. It just seemed to be the thing that worked good to add a little bit more color to the top there. And then I'm going to take 2 gold pearls and add those where those dots were on the either side of the words hot cocoa to bring in another touch of gold. And that finishes up my hot cocoa sign. I love how it turned out. I think adding those animals to the latte just gives it that cutesy look that I love, but you could totally do it without. All right, let's take a look at my hot cocoa bar with my cute little sign. This hot cocoa bar actually has already been used. We had family bingo night on the 18th, and this was our kind of dessert. So let me show you all the things that I have. I have this cute little sleigh that my mom gave me, and I added my hot cocoa packets to it, and in the back there are some cookies that my neighbors brought over last night. I have my cookie jar that has some shortbread cookies and some Bischoff cookies in them. I thought those would be really fun for dipping in cocoa. I have these wooden spoons with chocolate on the end, some candy. Here's my little snow globe that I made earlier in the season that I thought was a cute decoration. I have these little shakers that I found after Christmas last year, and one of them has cocoa in it, so you could sprinkle that on top. I have this cute canister from the Dollar Tree with a mix of holiday and plain marshmallows. I have sprinkles, some coasters, a little grater. I have some homemade hot cocoa mix in this jar that I made faux whip topping with speckling on the top. But when I had my hot cocoa bar with my family, I made cocoa in a crock pot with my homemade mix and whole milk, so it was really rich and super yummy. But I have my electric tea kettle there, so anytime you could make hot cocoa with just some hot water and the packets. There's my cute little mugs. I love the Santa face and snowman mugs. Now let's see these cute things that I found for my little hot cocoa bar. I have some peppermint spoons. They're like candy cane spoons, and some little Santas that you put in your hot cocoa and they kind of melt away, and some red hots. Thank you to my mom who found those for me. They were very hard to find. A little candle that I made from dollar store candles, the ones that come in those super skinny tall glass holders. I melted them down and poured it into this jar and added some essential oil and a window cling to the front. So that is my hot cocoa bar there. I had so much fun creating this year, pulling out things that I had, adding a little bit of homemade things and some super yummy things. I love it. Do you have a hot cocoa bar? I would love to know if you've done hot cocoa bars before and what your favorite thing is to add to them. And I thought you would also like to see these digital stamps in a different way. These are some shape cards that I made earlier this season, and this is the video where you can see how to do print and cut with those. I also did a previous video with these die cut peekaboo pals to make shaker tags. I thought you'd like to see them on some presents, and if you didn't see that video, I will have it linked here for you as well. And you can see how well the white tags stand out on my colorful presents. I'm loving them. They turned out really cute. And that is it for me today. Christmas is just around the corner, and I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. I will be back again soon, and I cannot wait to share some more stamping things with you in 2021. I just know it's going to be a great year. Happy stamping. Bye.